evening, everyone. Today I'll be talking about a topic which is often shrouded in secrecy, overlooked, and shunned: sexuality education, commonly known as sex ed. It's not just about sex. On the contrary, it's about learning about sexuality, relationships, and sexual health. Now, a very particular thing which always comes is that people don't really want to talk about sex ed. It's often overlooked. So as a society, we often shy away from the topic of sex ed and often disregard it, but it is crucial for our development as individuals and communities. Now, learning about basic anatomy, reproductive health, STIs, contraception, and exploring important topics like consent, need for healthy relationships, is all a part of sex ed. I cannot stress it enough that we need to create a safe and supportive environment so that people can actually learn about this topic and improve their lives. Now, I'm an embryologist, which essentially means that I make babies in the lab. We help infertile people realize their dreams of achieving a pregnancy and becoming parents. Now, a very common myth which people come to us with, and we have seen it a lot in our practice, is that women are often blamed for infertility. The truth, however, is that both men and women suffer equal incidence of infertility. A third of the causes are both attributed to the male and the female factor. The remaining third is due to unexplained, which even we don't know, and combined causes. Another very common doubt that we get is, when our babies are born through IVF, will they look any different from babies conceived naturally? The fact is, not at all. In fact, ART does not stand for artificial reproduction techniques. It stands for assisted reproduction. It's very important that the myths are endless, I'm telling you. I cannot even cover all of them right now because we know that there are a lot of myths. Even something as basic as sex ed, people have since forever believed that sex ed will promote young people to have sex. On the contrary, it will teach them about relationships, it will teach them about consent, and it will teach them about respecting the other person. So now when we talk about sex ed and the myths around it, I mean, something as basic as menstruation, people have a whole lot of myths around it. I mean, menstruators are asked not to wash hair, not to enter the kitchen when they're having their cycles, and the period pain is disregarded no matter the intensity. All these myths are very damaging and unfortunately add to the stigma already in place. Introducing sex ed to all ages, the age-appropriate dissemination of information is really important. So you have to introduce it in a particular manner. Let's talk about the places where we can introduce it at. Schools and homes, these are the two major impact points, in my opinion, for age-appropriate dissemination of information. Parents and teachers need to learn about sex ed just as much as the adults and the teens, because they will be the ones who will be imparting it as the first point of contact. Otherwise, we'll pick it up from our friends, and we all know how that goes. So now people ask, who requires it? Like I've already covered, everyone requires sex ed in some form or the other. So how do we make it more accessible? Fortunately, we live in a time where we are not short of mediums to spread awareness. Social media has become a huge platform, and I personally use social media to spread awareness regarding these topics, regarding fertility, reproductive health, and sexual health. And this platform, it gives people the chance to creatively push out information in form of short posts, infographics, short and long videos. We are spoiled for choice. It has also become a safe space where people can discuss sensitive topics with professionals from varying fields, schedule a call, schedule an appointment, join a workshop. And even healthcare doctors like me and other people from the spectrum of the whole healthcare have now started taking their own master classes and workshops, so you can learn directly from them. Well, I have to say that while all these platforms are amazing, they also have their share of misinformation. So figuring out what is what can be a little bit tricky, and a little bit of your own research can go a long way. So don't just believe what you see on social media blindly. A very wonderful thing which I have seen with social media is that people sharing similar experiences, they come together to form a group, a page, or whatever. And what that does, it helps people not feel alone. And through that particular tough phase in their life, they feel that there are other people who have gone through these experiences, and I'm not the only one suffering. And the takeaway from this is that regardless of age, gender, marital status, or whatever term that we can come up with, comprehensive sex ed is important. And we have seen the real world impact of it with the Me Too movement and the impact LGBTQ plus community has had and the movement has had on the laws and mentality of people. A lot of work still remains to be done, but let's make it a point that we include some form of sex ed in our daily lives one way or the other. Thank you.